Good morning. My name is Asani Ordu, and today I will be talking about the Personal Animosity Doctrine. The first thing I want to tell you about the Personal Animosity Doctrine is that it is actually an affirmative defense that is often used by insurance carriers as a way that they can try to avoid liability from a compensable injury that was spoken about earlier by a colleague of mine. Now, it is established that a compensable injury is an injury that occurs within the course and scope of employment. But however, when it comes to personal animosity doctrine being applied, it is looked at as an injury that is not compensable because it was by an act of a third person who intended to injure another coworker, and that actually took place at the place of employment. My apologies. So now the burden is on the insurance carrier to actually establish that the conflict that arose between the two coworkers arose out of a whole personal dispute, conflict, vendetta, however you want to define it as. And it had nothing to do with what occurred at the place of employment or the employee's actual duties. And so if by some chance the carrier is able to establish with sufficient evidence that the situation arose out of a personal conflict, then the burden would thereby shift over to the employee to prove by preponderance of evidence that the work environment itself is actually the reason why the dispute came about. I'm more of an individual that likes to use examples. So a situation where actual appeals decisions decided where a compensable injury or the personal animosity doctrine actually applied, you had two co-workers who had a long history of work conflict, arguing, constant bickering, name calling, anything you want to describe. And what it led to one day was an actual challenge by both of them to step outside and engage in a fist fight. And unfortunately, one of them got shot in the foot. And the one that got shot actually tried to make a compensable injury claim. But the hearing officer and the panel actually decided that the moment that both workers decide to take a step away from their work duties, their place of employment, and go outside, completely, again, deviating from any work obligations they had to engage in this fist fight, at that point, no compensable injury when the worker was shot. Because at that point, the fact is, they stepped away from their work and it had nothing to do with the actual injury in itself. It was a whole separate incident. Now, in situations where it was actually decided that the employment or place of employment actually contributed to the hostile conflict dispute, again, however you want to look at it, was when one coworker had a conflict, a verbal conflict initially with a foreman, and what it led to regarding the construction worker, the way he was performing his duties, such as like applying metal, placing metal, and so the foreman constantly bickering at him. It led to the construction worker stepping away and just resigning for the day. So after this, the foreman himself came and attacked the construction worker from behind. At that point, because the hearing officer determined and the appeals panel affirmed that the foreman only attacked the individual regarding that the way he was performing his work duties, placing the metal, actually applying his job, that is what arose to the whole conflict, physical injury, compensable injury. And therefore, the appeals panel decided no, it was right. It was a compensable injury. Therefore, the personal animosity exception doctrine does not apply in this situation. So I think the key thing to focus on that a hearing officer will have to look at is a fact issue. At what point did the actual dispute arise from the place of employment, or could they actually acknowledge some type of personal vendetta or prior history? And even if the insurance carrier is able to satisfy this burden, the actual claimant or the injured worker can overturn that burden by simply providing his own testimony or testimony of other co-workers to establish why this situation arose to where it became. And that is all I have for you today, and I thank you for your time.